On the surface, it can be an argument about anything: what time to leave for the airport, who forgot to send the tax forms, or where to send the kids to school. But in reality, it's usually the same disguised argument: the argument about not having sex. This is the biggest issue affecting committed couples, causing more fierce and indirect fights than any other problem. It's why someone refuses to talk to their partner over a bowl of udon in a Yokohama restaurant, or why someone is yelling in an apartment on the outskirts of Belo Horizonte. It explains why a child has a new step-parent, and why someone is crying over a bottle of booze or in their therapist's office. The real pain comes from the fact that you no longer desire me, and I can no longer stand myself. It's too painful to mention because it runs too deep and threatens our dignity. Late at night, we try to reach out for a touch, only to be rejected. They hold our hand weakly for a moment before pulling away and disappearing into sleep. Now we stop trying. Maybe it happens a few times a year, but we know the truth. We are not wanted. We feel like outcasts, the only ones rejected in this way, victims of a rare disease. We nurture emotional wounds that are too embarrassing to mention, feeling like the only ones not having sex in a world supposedly full of it. Our anger worsens our wounds and traps us in a cycle of hostility. Maybe they don't want us at night because we are so terrible during the day, but as long as our touch is unwanted, we can't muster the courage to be anything but vengeful. It's more painful than being single, where neglect is expected. It's an endless punishment. We can't complain, nor can we let go of the issue. We feel compelled to argue about anything: detergent, walks in the park, money for the dentist, even national politics, all because we so desperately need to be held and to hold. It's strange and even ridiculous that so much depends on this issue. The future of the family, the fate of the children, the division of assets, and the continuation of friendships all depend on this. The absence of sex is crucial because sex is the ultimate remedy for conflict, loneliness, and indifference. It's almost impossible to make love and feel sad or indifferent. The act forces presence, vulnerability, honesty, tenderness, and release. It's the ultimate proof that everything is still okay. So much would change if we could find the words, fight our shame, and not feel so alone. If we could point out the issue without anger, contempt, or defensiveness. If we could name our despair without becoming desperate. If the person who doesn't want it could explain in a reasonable and acceptable way, and the person who feels rejected could explain without giving in to resentment or despair. Ideally, alongside physics and geography, we would learn the basics of all this in our final year of high school, with in-depth courses and regular refreshers throughout our lives. This is the model for all arguments. Those who can get through it can get through almost any dispute. Those who can't will fight to the death. If our species learned how to do this, the world would be calmer, with fewer arguments, alcohol outbursts, divorces, infidelities, anger, complaints, civil wars, and armed conflicts. At the first signs of a no-sex argument, couples would know how to find the words to address their sadness. There's not always an answer, but there's always the right conversation, and on a good day, the resilience of love.